I'm beginning recording now.
Okay.
We'll explain who we are and what we're
Great.
doing. I'm in the architecture PhD program at UWM, and I'm in a program called Buildings, Landscapes, Cultures. My interest is in social justice and art, and how groups like Arts at Large or Red Line Milwaukee, things like that, are getting themselves involved in the community, getting artists involved in the community. But this summer project is more of a storytelling project, getting to know everyday Milwaukeeans and taking a seemingly random neighborhood like Thurston Woods that most people would just probably pass by and not really recognize, and investigating it deeper to find what kind of history is there, what people there are like, things like that.
And could I ask you, how did you choose Thurston Woods?
I'm the project assistant for the class, and my professor is in charge of this. We met a woman at the Agape Center who was very interested in working with us.
That's a great place.
So through partnership with them, that's how we chose Thurston Woods. And eventually, we'd like each year to do a different neighborhood.
Great.
And this will become part of a website and an archive of interviews.
Great.
And Niles will tell you about himself.
Yeah, I'm Niles Nemeth, and I'm in the master's program for history at UWM. And my main interest is African American history. So I was kind of interested to get involved in this project, since I know that Thurston Woods, that there are a lot of African Americans, but I've learned a lot more about Milwaukee and about the neighborhood. Being involved in the project and learning different techniques, like we've done like architectural drawing and like measuring of homes, and so it's been a pretty interesting experience.
I bet.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a bit about yourself in the neighborhood, how long you've lived here?
Sure.
What places are special?
Did Mavis McCallum, I know you talked to her, did she tell you about the history of Thurston Woods?
We've done a bit of research. She's told us about her history in these two homes.
Right, about the Langies and things like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure, yeah, great. Okay, well, I've been here for 6 years in December, so I've been here a little over 5 years. I chose this house because it was affordable. I did not know about Thurston Woods at all, and I'm an artist. I was living in my studio, and I wanted to move on because the rising rents all over the place, and I wanted to secure a place for my studio and my living. So I was working through Select Milwaukee here. Irma Yepes was really terrific, and it was a long process of learning how to work with money, which artists often don't know how to do that. I'm not going to excuse it for myself, but it just happens to be we don't have time for that. So it took me a while to get in a position where I could buy a house. And at the time it was 2006, when I knew that there was money being available for people like myself who usually don't have money available, because we usually don't have 20% down to buy a house. And I knew that this was a window that would probably be closing and it wouldn't happen again, so I was interested in getting into that. So it took a long time to get everything in order. And I was looking for a house, and at the time prices were high, so finding something that I could afford was difficult. Went through a lot of different neighborhoods, and of course prices were too high at that time, but that's what we were looking at. And one day Irma said, "Why don't you try Thurston Woods?" And I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of it. So, but I didn't think I wanted to be on the north side. And then I was watching the ads in online, you know, the Shore West homes, and I saw this home, and I thought, oh, 35th Street. I was like, I'm not living on 35th Street. You know, that's not for me. But then I looked at how far north it was, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if that's Thurston Woods. And sure enough, it was. So when my realtor and I came to look at this, and I looked online, and I thought, this house looks perfect. And the price was right and all that, and I thought, well, we'll go take a look. So my realtor was really getting a little tired of driving me around town, I think. But anyway, we came to this one, and I thought, yeah, this is going to work, you know. And lucky for me, the man that lived here, the family that lived here, really needed to move. They were being relocated, and they were really anxious to sell their house. So it fell in place for me.
What did the realtor say about the Thurston Woods area? Did he or she describe?
No, he didn't know anything about Thurston Woods. Well, actually, he's told me. We looked at there's beautiful houses around here, and we looked at a couple of houses south of Silver Spring. Beautiful house, but the neighborhood was really a lot riskier than mine. And what he said was, this was a neighborhood I sold my first house in. So he was very encouraging. He didn't say anything. And then we looked at some houses, and he was surprised at this pocket here. And he said, this is a very special house, because it's built really well. He said, this is a really special house, but we can't change the location, which is true. And I was an East Sider for a long time, so that is, and he knew that I wasn't looking in this neighborhood. So that's right. So that being said, and I think that was a wise thing for him to say. He didn't discourage me in the neighborhood at all, but it is true that it is a neighborhood that I hadn't been looking in before. So. And
what are your impressions of the neighborhood so far?
I love this neighborhood. I really like this neighborhood. I was I had never lived in a racially diverse neighborhood before, and so my previous places were on the east side, and then in Walker's Point by the 3rd Ward. So those neighborhoods in my studio and things like that were not racially diverse in any means. And I thought that I wanted to live in a Latino neighborhood because that was where my studios had been. And I didn't think that I would be happy in an African American neighborhood, but I was so wrong. And I really love my neighborhood. And it was quite astounding to go through that realization, because at first I didn't feel that way at all. And it was quite astounding, since you guys are interested in the racial component. I was really surprised at my surprise. Like, I wasn't used to seeing black people in nice cars or in a nice house, and that was really kind of shocking to me about myself. And it really taught me, how divided we are and how wrong that is, because my neighbors are so sweet. Now we are concerned about certain people. We watch out for each other. People come and go. Some of our houses, obviously have some gang thing going on, but they're okay. And we watch each other. That man across the street gives me the flag on with his curtains when I'm talking to somebody he doesn't think I should be talking to.
Wow.
That kind of thing. Yeah. And people are really nice. And I worked a lot. I did all the landscaping in the front, and people really liked watching me work in my yard. And they would come by and say, "Oh, I love your yard," and I'd say, "Yes, for you too." And I have a push lawnmower. That's really funny, because when I first used my push lawnmower, the little boy next door was 10, and he was watching me, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm cutting my grass." He said, "Is that what that is? Why do you have that?" And people have gone by, and these old black guys go, "I didn't know they still made those anymore." Stuff like that. It's been fun. It's been fun getting to know each other, actually.
Is working in your front yard the main way you meet people in the neighborhood?
I walk my dog.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Charlie and I walk every morning, and so we always say hello to people and talk to our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've gotten to know our neighbors that way. We've shared. Our neighbor over on 34th Street. There's some fantastic houses over there. They had a holiday party, and we want you to come over. Stuff like that. Got to see everybody, and so we also have a block watch, Thurston Block Watch. So I've attended meetings there and have gotten to know people there. And that's been an interesting thing too, because at first they were very leery of me. What's this white lady doing in our neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. Is she going to take advantage of us? That kind of thing. But we've gotten to know each other, and we know that it's all okay. There's still every once in a while something comes up, where they're kind of wondering about me. But it's great. I meet people by walking my dog and going to block meetings, I guess.
Do a lot of other people have the same routine walking their dog?
Not too much. I walk my dog early in the morning. When there's not too many people out. That's why I choose that time, because a lot of people have pit bulls, and I don't want to trust a pit bull. they all say, oh, the dog's so sweet, but I'm not going to trust a pit bull.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk my dog in the morning when no one else is around. I don't talk to other people that are walking their dogs. I talk to people that are out in their yards.
Okay.
The people that are out, and there are people out, and I wave to them and say hello, how you doing, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how we get to know people.
What places do you really value in the neighborhood?
What places in there?
I guess another way to say it, do you go out to eat, or do
Okay,
you...
that's a disappointment. That's the thing about when I was down by the Third Ward, is great places to go, right? And I walked my dog all times of night and day, because hardly anyone else had dogs down there at that time, and it was a great place to walk, and I always felt completely safe, even though, there was stuff going on down there. But anyway, that's one thing that I don't like about this neighborhood. In that when I first moved here, I walked around. I walked further into the neighborhood, checked out Smith Park and stuff like that. But I decided that it really wasn't good. Now that might change for me. So I don't go out. We don't have any good places to eat. We have Joe's actually on Silver Spring. That's a great breakfast place. That's a good place to eat. But other than that, we don't have that, and I wish we did. If we had roadside, like sitting on the sidewalk kind of cafes, that would be great. But that doesn't fit this neighborhood yet. So places I like to go to Havenwoods State Park is not far from here. So we go over there. I used to have a garden over there. That's nice. And then I like being close to Trader Joe's. And we also go over I take my dog over to the lake to walk along the lake on the beach. That's really nice. Mm-hmm. So that's what I usually do. But we don't really have a place in our neighborhood where we can sit down and have coffee. It's just not here. In fact, there's more interest in the neighborhood to bring in taverns. And that's something that we fight through our block watch, mm-hmm. the liquor licenses and stuff like that. We don't like that, either. But the neighborhood is not conducive to that right now.
On this street you have an alley. Could you tell me a bit about just how you use an alley? And
well, I love having an alley. I think that all houses should have alleys, because for one thing, I like not seeing the garbage cans. When there's not an alley, there's always people with, I was looking at your garbage can and they're not very attractive. But I like my alley. I plant flowers out there. I keep my alley clean, my part of the alley clean. I like having a garage with a garage opener. That's really great. We all pitch in $20 to have the alley plowed out in the wintertime. So when the guy goes out 6 o'clock in the morning, it's clear, so we can get out in the morning. That's really helpful. I like having an alley because I get to see my neighbors when I'm going in and out. So I've gotten to know the people that live, behind me across the alley. Gotten to know, I know them. I've gotten they've invited me over for parties and stuff like that. They moved in about the same time I did. They're from River West area, so we have that in common. But I also get to see my neighbors more from the alley. I get to see people that are kitty corner as they come and go, that kind of thing. So I think an alley's great.
Is that when you see people in the alley as opposed to the front yard, is there a difference?
Yeah, there is.
What?
Because I see people that live there. The people that walk by are walking somewhere back and forth. I see people frequently that they, people have patterns, and people walk by about the same time and they know I'm sitting on my porch and say hello, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't see their houses. I don't know where they live or anything like that. Whereas the alleys, we're connected with land a little more.
So you might be more prone to open up a little wider?
No. I talk to people in the front. It's just that as you're walking by, you really don't talk a whole lot. You just kind of say, hi, how are you? Mm-hmm. But if you're in your yard, you tend to say, how's the weather? Or what are you planting? Like your fence, blah, 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 that kind of thing.
And do you use the alley to kind of spread the word about like a holiday party, or how do you... Parties, that kind of thing. We don't spread the word for parties. Oh, okay.
Individuals are invited. Yeah. We're careful about who we let into our house, which I think we should. because we don't want someone to come into our house, even if we trust them, to inform someone else about what's in our house. You know, there's that reality in the neighborhood. So being invited to a holiday party is a one-on-one.
Yeah. With a lot of people we've interviewed, we've gotten more homeowners than renters,
Mm-hmm.
and from a lot of the interviews, there's a varying range, but
Right.
in some interviews there's this really polarization of renters and homeowners,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my understanding that renters also value their neighborhood, but in a
Mhm.
different way. Do you have anything to say about that?
The renters, the people across the street, the woman across the street is a renter. She's not interested in saying hello, you know. And she's not there, but one over. She's not interested in saying hello. There's no approach at all, you know, to be open, you know. And then a couple other doors down, they are renters, and they're questionable, you know. I think there might be some questionable activities there.
Mm.
So, and they don't, you know, I can be standing at the house next door talking to the neighbor there. You know, I've gotten to know her. They moved in this year, and I've gotten to know them a little bit. And the people that live in the house that's questionable, she doesn't even say hello. We're standing right next to her, even though I'm looking at her and smiling. She won't say hello.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it depends on the people. And I know I was a renter. I've been a renter. I had been a renter for a long time, and I certainly, you know, took care of my house and was interested in my neighborhood. When I was renting in River West in a house, I got to know my neighbors and planted a garden and shared things and all that kind of stuff too. But you know, it depends. It depends on the neighborhood. It depends on the people. You know, I don't think that we're keeping renters out of our dialogue, but the truth be told, that renters come and go, and they don't usually take care of the house as well as they should. Sometimes the owners do take care of the house, which is really nice. Like right across the street and down one, they bring they come in with, he has a crew come in and cut the lawn and take care of the outside and all that kind of stuff. But you know, there have been renters that don't shovel the lawn, don't cut the grass, you know, that kind of thing. So it depends. We are a neighborhood that's borderline, so it's not going to be, you know, if we were living in Whitefish Bay or Shorewood, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reality.
Can you describe that concept a little more, borderline?
There's guns at night.
Okay.
You know.
Oh, yes.
There's things being stolen out of people's houses, breaking into garages. We have to watch each other. You know, there's gangs. You know, that's a reality. We all know that.
Could you talk about the difference between day and night a bit more? We've only been here during the day.
Right. Well, I don't know. One thing about, I don't go out very much at night, and actually, I like to sit on my porch a lot, but I sit on my porch during the day. And one time, some friends were here, and we were sitting on the porch at night, and a lot of kids were walking by, and I was like, where did these kids go? But they weren't bad kids; they were good kids, you know. And one of the things is that they don't have any place to go, you know. City kids don't have any place to go, you know. And so, you know, they walk around and look at each other. Pretty much is what they do, and that's what kids do, you know. So, other than that, I don't know. My neighbor next door, we're good friends, and he was asking me about gunshots the other day, because he said he's lived here for 20 years and it's the first time he's been hearing gunshots. Mm-hmm. So he's wondering about that. But there is the fact that there's more guns on the street now since Scott Walker did the concealed carry. There's a lot more guns being purchased, and there's a lot more guns available out into the community, which is really awful. You know, kids are shooting other kids. We all know that. You know, so you know, so you have to be careful.
I interviewed a young man about 21, maybe 22, who grew up in Berryland, and he was talking about what he did as a kid. He rode his bike around. He went to basketball courts, and there are basketball courts at 41st and Douglas, but they've been drastically downsized in the last 6 years, I believe, and so it leaves a lot of youth without a place to go.
Right. Well, there's basketball courts at the school on any end here that's close to Berryland.
And any kids can get in there?
Any kids can go there.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are basketball courts. In fact, I saw some kids go by. See, my neighbor has a basketball hoop, and he was saying the other day that some kids were trying to take down his basketball hoop. And so he went out and told him to leave it alone. He asked me if I'd seen anybody, and I said no. But then I saw some kids go by with a basketball. Just little kids. They were good kids. And I said, where do you go to play basketball? And they said, we're going down to the school. We can go there. So there's a big court down there.
Could you talk about how you feel about community youth and the good and bad, or and in between?
Well, I don't see any bad. The kids around here are really good kids. Yeah.
So the people whom you might see as suspicious are not youth? Or
there are youth there, but they're still good kids. There's suspicious activity, but I don't know why they're doing the activity. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It means they're tied into bad activities. Yeah. But the kids, there's one that's a teen. I think he's a teen. I can't tell. He doesn't go to school. Whatever he is, he's probably older than teen. But he would easily step into a questionable activity just because he doesn't know any different.
Yeah, good and bad is kind of just a convenience term. A lot of people have been telling us they're people who confront them at night, or they've been using the term bad people or things like that, and we're just trying to understand what they're thinking of when they use that.
Well, I have no idea what they're thinking. But the one thing, there's a woman that lives on the corner, and she goes to work early in the morning, and I walk my dog in there early in the morning, but when it was still dark early in the morning, she told me, this was in the last couple of months, she said that she was walking to the bus stop over in Silver Spring. Someone came up to her, and she said, I tried to give him my purse, he wouldn't take it. And she said, as I walked away, he hit her over the head with his gun. And she had to have stitches. Yeah. So she was telling me that because she wanted me to be careful if I was walking early in the morning, So then the kids, the kids get picked up in the morning at the corners, and a man is always there with his daughter, and so I was talking to him and telling him that it was that woman that got hurt, and he said, oh, that was her, because he had heard about it. He said the police were knocking on his door telling him about it and stuff like that, So I don't know. We've had some things going on the street, and I've called the police. That they, whatever was going on. That it felt like they were trying to move into the neighborhood, but everyone was watching, and they haven't come back. That there's bully attitudes sometimes. It doesn't happen very often, but there was bully attitude, and it seemed like they were trying to move into the neighborhood. So we were watching it to have them move on to the next neighborhood, wherever they go, as long as they're not on our street. I don't care. But that's the way it is. But one thing they did is that those questionable bully kind of people would stop at that questionable house and go, hey man, and give them that, I guess it's a gang shake, And they'd be waving at the kids across the street, so they'd be very happy to get the kids on their side, that kind of thing, that kind of activity. So.
Could you describe the different streets? You're giving really great felt descriptions. Could you describe how you feel about 35th Street, or maybe a different, or
35th Street is I didn't realize it was so busy, but it is busy, and it doesn't bother me. Charlie and I like to sit outside and watch the cars go by. It's kind of fun. There's a lot of different kinds of cars, a lot of different kinds of people. Sometimes we get Mavis especially gets mad at the big trucks, which was a big battle to keep the big trucks off our street. I think I don't know if it's county or state, 35th Street, so there is limited on what we can do as far as, stopping that. We can't help that. But lately there's been less. But, the big trucks are not a good thing. They don't go too fast. Sometimes they do, but, it's okay. The street's okay. There's a lot of people, a lot going back and forth. And then the next street over, 34th Street, is a lot quieter. And I've gotten to know the woman that lives on the very end of 34th Street, and it's a dead end. And she came over one time, we were sitting on the porch, and that she really liked that 35th Street was busy. She doesn't like being at a dead end because it's too quiet, nothing's going on.
Does she feel isolated, or what's the...
I don't know, that's just what she said. I
Okay.
don't know what she feels. How am I supposed to know what she feels?
I'm just curious. Niles, do you have some questions?
Yeah, could you just talk more about the work that you've done in your front yard? Like planting and, why you've made it up the way that you have.
Well, I didn't have a plan, but and I completely replanted the backyard. Backyard is completely redone. Fruit trees and fruit bushes and foods and things like that. I'm interested in that kind of a thing. And I just started planting and just kept planting and kind of got out of control. That kind of a thing. So there really wasn't a plan in mind or a reason why I was doing it. It just started happening that way. And then this, I'll have to show, I have the original blueprints for this house. Yeah, from 1935. And this house had they called it a terrace on the front. And it had a wall around it, a small wall that was planters. And somewhere along the way, somebody tore it all out. Well, it's not that. I know who tore it out. It was a person, just not the person before me, but the first person after me, just before him, tore it out. And so I found all those wonderful stones in my backyard, and all over the place. And so I used them on walkways and stuff like that inside. But anyway, I wanted to use that porch, and the porch had a big crack in it, and I didn't want to take it all out because it'd be too expensive. I don't have a lot of money. I didn't want to invest that kind of money there. So I decided that I would brick it, lay the bricks, which is what I did to make a patio. And then the walkway, originally the sidewalk went into right straight in, and that would have been the entryway to the terrace if there was a terrace. But this house is sinking because it's been here for so long, and I think it's because of the trees. But that last piece of sidewalk leading to the porch there would always be a big puddle there whenever it rained because it was sinking, and the porch was cracked. So I wanted to do something about that. So I had that last piece of cement taken out, and then used the curved side of the walkway, which was there, and I liked that curve. So I decided to use that curve, and so the entry to the porch would be on the side. And then I bought that fencing to go on the front because I wanted to sit out there with my dog. And once he starts running, he doesn't want to come back. He wants to be chased. So I want to keep him within. So I got that fence. There was a program when I don't know, a number of years ago, that was $500 to do the front of your house. It was one of the things from Agape Center. So you apply for it, et cetera, and that's what I did. So that's when I got $500. That's when I bought the fence, and did a lot of the planting. Now another original part of this house is the awnings, and when I moved in, there wasn't any awnings, and the owner that I bought from told me that there was a frame in the garage for the awnings. And at the time I thought, that's a crazy idea. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, those awnings would be really nice. That would give me more privacy, help to keep the rain off the windows, keep the cold air off the windows. And so I applied for a couple different grants, community grant things for the awnings, and it took a while. It took a number of years before it finally happened, but finally it did. So just this last year I got the awnings put up, which I really like, because now I keep my windows open more. Usually I would keep those windows closed more for privacy, but now I can have them open and have privacy with those. So it was a great idea. People that built this house had great ideas about how to build a house.
Yeah, it's certainly a nice house.
Yeah.
Well built.
It is well built. I wonder if the owner was a mason, because the masonry is really outstanding in the way that he treated the fake fireplace,
Yeah.
And also there are little traces around, things left around the house, and one was a brass that joiner, that tool is a triangle, with the handle on it, that you go through to make the line.
Mortar?
Yeah,
Oh.
those mortar things was one of those. So I think he might have been a mason. When I redid the upstairs and put in walls, and so we took out, we found placed in there the measuring tools for all the beams, because when they made that roof, they had to figure out all those different angles, you know. So they had left the tools that they had used when they built the house. It was really kind of cool.
That's cool.
Very cool. Yeah. So yeah, they did a nice job. They really put a lot of care into building this house. Yeah, which is what they did back then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, talking to Tom, he was telling us about his art practice and that he's able to use your kiln, or he's able
No, he
to
doesn't use my kiln. I don't let anybody use my kiln.
Okay. But it seems like you know a few artists in the neighborhood. Could you talk about that a little?
Yeah, we don't really, there are a number of artists in our neighborhood, which is really not planned at all, but it just happens to be that way, which is really nice. We don't really talk about our art together. It's not like we have an arts community or anything like that. Mm-hmm. We're all off onto other things. Mm-hmm. But a couple blocks down, there's, they probably told you about this at Agape, is a person who does metal work. And he has his shop down further, you know, across Silver Spring, about 3 blocks over in that neighborhood by Villard. Mm-hmm. And then that's all that I know for visual artists besides Tom. We have musicians in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. 2 houses down, there's a new couple that moved in. They have a band, a blues band, and they travel around the world actually, doing things. A couple houses down from them, there are 2 teenage boys that are really excellent. One is has a full scholarship at UWM in music. The other one is still in high school. And they are really good jazz musicians. It's really fun to hear them play when I'm sitting outside. They're practicing and stuff. It's really great. So you can have him push him down anytime. He doesn't have to do that. And then across the alley rather, there are some guys that just are kind of bar band kind of guys that make a lot of noise. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. So that's about that. That's all I know about that.
How long have you lived in Milwaukee?
I came here for graduate school, and I came here in '78. Yeah. So I have an MFA from UWM, and so that's how long I've been in Milwaukee.
What do you think of the city?
It's an easy place to live. I never thought I would stay in Milwaukee. I didn't come to Milwaukee for Milwaukee. I came to Milwaukee for graduate school, and I had a TA. So that worked out good. After I got out of my MFA, I have 2 daughters, and they were, you know, and they were in their schools with their friends, and I didn't want to leave for a teaching job somewhere or something and go into a place that I wasn't sure of with them. And they were settled, and I had friends here that were getting studios. So I decided to stay here and work in a studio, because at the time our rent was really, really cheap for a lot of space. So that it was an easy place to live. So that's good. That part of Milwaukee is good. The other part is that I don't encourage people to stay here if they want to be artists, because there's not a lot available. Also, there's not a lot of encouragement in the art community. You know, there's a lot of artists, a lot of good artists, and I've met a lot of good people, and I know a lot of good people. But there's just not a lot of support in the community. I think it's because it's a factory town, you know. And also, we're very separated as far as class goes. You know, people that do have money, a lot of money, and there's a lot of money in Milwaukee, they go to New York and buy art, or they go to Chicago and buy art. You know, that kind of thing. So that's just the way it is. Just the way it's set up. It's been set up that way for a long time. You know, it's because of the owners. There's the owning class. You know, and they're going to keep it that way. And the owners. So,
yeah.
You know. So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee's interesting. I really love our police chief, Flynn. I didn't really know anything about the city until I moved into my house, because I really didn't care. I was busy with my own thing. But since I've been a property owner, I've gotten to know more about the community, and I'm really impressed by our socialist roots and how we take care of our community. Hopefully that won't disappear completely. I'm impressed by our parks. I'm impressed by our new police chief, you know, that kind of thing. So Milwaukee has a lot to offer. We have a wonderful past. I think we have a rocky present, but we have a wonderful past. You know, we've got a lot. The last 4 summers I worked at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater as a telemarketer, and I'm really impressed by that facility and the knowledge and the actors and all that stuff, all that comes in. And the people that I would talk to on the telephone were very, very knowledgeable about theater and all that stuff. They were very smart. So there's a lot here. It's nice. And also, I worked as a server for a long time in a lot of different restaurants in town, and I met a lot of people. So a lot of interesting people that I wouldn't have met otherwise, So that was interesting.
What restaurants did you work at?
I worked at Fleur de Lis, Coffee Trader, Third Ward Cafe, Hooligans when I was in graduate school, Benjamin's too, downtown, a Red Rock Cafe in Shorewood. It's not there anymore. Just kind of upscale. Yeah, made a lot of money. It was good. It fit into being an artist.
My roommate works at Lake Park Bistro.
Does she?
She's also a PhD student, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. You can make a lot of money and meet a lot of good people. We had a great time.
In all of Milwaukee, where do you feel anchored? It seems like you really have a couple places that you gravitate towards.
Well, yeah, that has changed a lot since I moved out here. I've let go of a lot of places I was anchored to for a long time, and I feel just fine about that. I'm kind of glad about that. When I go back now, I'm like, geez, I'm glad that's over. Although I spent a lot of time there. I mean, now is where I shop for food. And that changes too, because I changed my mind about that. I like to go to Sendik's down on Silver Spring. I like to go there for coffee and to shop. I like Trader Joe's. I like to go to the Outpost, that kind of thing. So I was very sociable, before I bought a house, and I don't do that anymore. I don't go out. I don't go out to hear music, or I have a lot of friends that are musicians. I don't do that anymore. I just don't. Doesn't interest me.
Okay. It's not because of distance or?
No, I just don't want to. I'm busy. I'm working on my work a lot more, and I have my own things to do.
Mavis says that you also teach at UWM.
I do, yeah. I teach yoga.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I also have a ceramics class. I teach one ceramics class and yoga classes through the sports and rec department.
At the Lutheran church, or
there's a Methodist church across the street, Kenwood. Mm-hmm. I was teaching for a while too over at Plymouth Church. We have classes over there too in Hampshire, but no, I'm pretty much in Kenwood, which is fine with me. I like it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the ceramics course you teach, is it's undergrad or intro?
It's through sports and rec, so it's all different kinds of students.
Okay.
So 1 credit, like the sports and rec classes. Yeah, I'm sure you know about the sports and rec classes. It's a great way to pick up a credit. So there's all different kinds of things there, different kinds of dance, chess, watercolor painting, ceramics. In my ceramics class, 3D painting and design is the class.
That's down in the student center or the
Union
building?
In Kenwood Methodist Church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I bring all the materials and I bring them back here and do the firing here.
Okay.
Yeah. The university is very divided. They don't share. So the craft center doesn't want the clay center. They don't want, they don't want me in there. Although they do let the camera people in there. And our classes can't be in fine arts. They're very divided. Very protective of their space for some reason. That's the way it is. That's the way it works. So.
And you, I guess this isn't really about Thurston Woods, but you've been at UWM as a student or a teacher since 1978?
Well, I haven't stayed there. No, I was there. Came in '78. I got my MFA in '81, and I wasn't back there at all until I started teaching at the sports and rec and I started teaching. I've been there for 7 years. So in between the time I wasn't there, I taught at Myad. I taught figure sculpture at Myad for 5 years. I taught at the Art Center. I taught a lot of different places.
Could you talk about the differences between the late 70s and now at UWM? Or
Well, I can't really say because I was in graduate school and I was raising 2 daughters and I was working at Hooligans and I really didn't care about the university very much other than being in my studio, which is pretty much what it's like when you're a graduate student. I'm sure you know. And our studio was in the Kenwood building. That's now they've redone it completely, but back then it was just a factory. And I lived 2 blocks away from there, so that was my life. I taught classes there because I was a TA, but I don't know what was going on. I didn't pay attention to what was going on there.
okay,
Yeah, because I was busy with my work.
do you have any more questions?
No, I don't think so.
I can't really think of anything either.
Sure.
But this has been great.
Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. Let's get your project. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a card in case you want to talk to me. In case you have any questions.
Oh sure.
It's not fair that I have your contact information and you don't.
Okay.
Did you bring any forms?
I believe you did. You just have some release forms.
Sure. One of the things I really like about Thurston Woods is we have policemen living in our neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
That's really nice.
Yeah, you said that you like the chief of police. Is that does he live here or?
No, he doesn't live here. He's really good at covering the neighborhood. Cars driving by. We have block watch meetings where representatives from the police force come and talk to us. So he's really available. We had some people walking down the street the other day. That was a new one. Some police officers. So he's really interested in working with the neighborhoods, which is really nice. And I guess from what I've heard, it wasn't the case in the past. And I've heard that he's just a great guy, and I know that I think he's a great guy. They're available. We can call anytime. We have a number we can call anytime. Need someone to come out. It's great.
Here's my card.
Oh, thank you.
I'm also a painter, but
Excellent.
been not very active since I got back into school. Oh, look. What do you feel could improve Thurston Woods?
Let's see. Well, I wish we had a little cafe.
Yeah.
Whether we would go to it or not, I'm not sure. Because I don't like the shop on the corner that I don't shop at the store on the corner and stuff like that. I don't feel comfortable.
The one with is it a yellow roof?
Mhm.
Or, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. You can't change your neighborhood. One time I went for a bottle of wine at the liquor store and they didn't have any wine.
Oh.
It's a liquor store.
Yeah, there you go. Silly me. So that's all right. I mean, that's people live. This is their neighborhood too. You change the neighborhood for me. That's for sure. We could use more gardens. You know what I think we should do? I think that they should have gardens. Well, they do have gardens down on Mill. I think I'm a proponent of getting rid of the buses and having neighborhood schools, because we have 2 neighborhood schools and we have 12 buses in the neighborhood in the morning, taking all the kids out, and then all the buses coming in and bringing the kids in. I think that's a big mistake for MPS because it's really expensive. I mean, we need the money anyway. But I think that it would build community if all these kids that were here around here, we've got great kids. We're going to school on the corner,
Yeah.
and they've got a great big yard there that they're not using. They could have gardens out there. I'm a proponent for teaching growing of food for the kids, and cooking of food. I think that would be a really nice thing for as part of MPS schools. So I would like that happening in Thurston Woods. That's a whole other issue. I think that's going to take many years to bring about.
Is it your understanding that schools have closed down and so now they have to be, students have to be
No, that
bused?
was the mandate in the 70s for mixing up integration.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's still being practiced?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Girl.
I should know this, but I just moved here in September.
Yes, you should. This is all across the country, not just here. Those steps toward integration, a lot of them are, if you tell people that they can choose any school they want to go to, they're going to choose any school they want to go to because they want the better school for their kids.
Yeah.
They're going to think that the neighborhood school is not good enough because no one else is going there. That kind of thing. So you can't turn it around. It's going to be really hard to turn it around. Maybe financially, maybe that'll be the door to turning it around. But once people are given the choice to let their kid go anywhere and have a free bus ride, pick you up in front of your house and take you wherever you want to go, you can't say, okay, now you can't do that anymore. You have to go down to the corner. And then if people have a conception that the school on the corner is not good enough, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time to get over that.
Presumably you have another form.
I have the old version.
And the reason schools were closed down was because all the kids were going to another school. And that it didn't necessarily have to happen that way. I think it's unfortunate because Milwaukee had a strong tradition of strong education, and people cook, you get to know the cook, and they cook food for you, and you smell the food cooking. Not anymore. Now they bring it in, and it's all prepackaged.
Yeah. So we've got these two forms. This one is a consent form for participation, and then this one is a release form for the oral interview.
Okay.
If there's anything like you want us to leave out, or you can specify on there. Need a pen?